Srimad Bhagavatam, translated with commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 1, Chapter 8. Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. Text 21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda and the other cowherd men of Vrndavana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Purport. The Lord, being thus unapproachable by any material assets, out of unbounded and causeless mercy, descends on the earth as He is, in order to show His special mercy upon His unalloyed devotees, and to diminish the upsurges of the demoniac persons. Queen Kunti specifically adores the incarnation or descent of Lord Krishna above all other incarnations, because in this particular incarnation, He is more approachable. In the Ram incarnation, He remained a king's son from His very childhood, but in the incarnation of Krishna, although He is the son of a king, He at once left the shelter of His real father and mother, King Vasudeva and Queen Devaki, just after His appearance, and went to the lap of Yasoda Mai to play the part of an ordinary cowherd boy in the blessed Vrajabhumi, which is very sanctified because of His childhood pastimes. Therefore, Lord Krishna is more merciful than Lord Ram. He was undoubtedly very kind to Kunti's brother Vasudeva and the family. Had he not become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, Queen Kunti could not claim him to be her nephew, and thus address Krishna in parental affection. But Nanda and Yasoda are more fortunate, because they could relish the Lord's childhood pastimes, which are more attractive than all other pastimes. There is no parallel to His childhood pastimes as exhibited at Vrajabhumi, which are the prototypes of His eternal affairs in the original Krishna Loka, described as the Chintamani Dham in the Brahma Samhita. Lord Sri Krishna descended Himself at Vrajabhumi with all His transcendental entourage and paraphernalia. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore confirmed that no one is as fortunate as the residents of Vrajabhumi, and specifically the cowherd girls, who dedicated their everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. His pastimes with Nanda and Yasoda, and His pastimes with the cowherd men, and especially the cowherd boys and the cows, have caused Him to be known as Govinda. Lord Krishna, as Govinda, is more inclined to the Brahmins and the cows, indicating thereby that human prosperity depends more or less on these two items, namely, Brahminical culture and cow protection. Lord Krishna is never satisfied when these are lacking. Text 22. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression line like a lotus flower, who is always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Purport. Here are some of the specific symbolical marks on the spiritual body of the personality of Godhead, which distinguish His body from the bodies of all others. They are all special features of the body of the Lord. The Lord may appear as one of us, but he is always distinct by his specific bodily features. Srimati Kunti claims herself as unfit to see the Lord because of her being a woman. This is claimed because women, Sudras, the laborer class, and the Dvijabandhus, or the wretched descendants of the higher three classes, are unfit by intelligence to understand transcendental subject matter concerning the spiritual name, fame, attributes, forms, etc. of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Such persons, although they are unfit to enter into the spiritual affairs of the Lord, can see him as the Archavigraha, who descends on the material world just to distribute favors to the fallen souls, including the above-mentioned women, Sudras, and Dvijabandhus. Because such fallen souls cannot see anything beyond matter, the Lord condescends to enter into each and every one of the innumerable universes as the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who grows a lotus stem from the lotus-like depression in the center of his transcendental abdomen, and thus Brahma, the first living being in the universe, is born. Therefore, the Lord is known as the Pankajanabi. The Pankajanabi Lord accepts the Archavigraha, his transcendental form, in different elements, namely, a form within the mind, a form made of wood, a form made of earth, a form made of metal, a form made of jewel, a form made of painting, a form drawn on the sand, etc. All such forms of the Lord are always decorated with garlands of lotus flower, and there should be a soothing atmosphere in the temple of worship to attract the burning attention of the non-devotees, always engaged in material wranglings. The meditator's worship of form within the mind. Therefore, the Lord is merciful even to the women, Sudras, and Dvijabandhus, provided they agree to visit the temple of worship in different forms made for them. Such temple visitors are not idolaters, as alleged by some men with a poor fund of knowledge. All the great acharyas established such temples of worship in all places, just to favor the less intelligent, and one should not pose himself as transcending the stage of temple worship while one is actually in the category of the Sudras and the women or less. One should begin to see the Lord from the lotus feet, gradually rising to the thighs, waist, chest, and face. One should not try to look at the face of the Lord without being accustomed to seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. Srimati Kunti, because of her being the aunt of the Lord, did not begin to see the Lord from the lotus feet, because the Lord might feel ashamed, and thus Kunti Devi, just to save a painful situation for the Lord, began to see the Lord just above his lotus feet, that is, from the waist of the Lord, gradually rising to the face, and then down to the lotus feet. In the round, everything there is in order. Text 23. O Rishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and myself and my children from a series of constant dangers. Purport. Devaki, the mother of Krishna and sister of King Kamsa, was put into prison along with her husband Vasudeva, because the envious king was afraid of being killed by the eighth son, Krishna, of Devaki. He therefore killed all the sons of Devaki who were born before Krishna. But Krishna escaped the danger of child slaughter, because he was transferred to the house of Nanda Maharaj, Lord Krishna's foster father. Kunti Devi was also saved from a series of dangers along with her children. But Kunti Devi was shown more favor because Lord Krishna did not save the other children of Devaki, whereas he saved the children of Kunti Devi. This was done because Devaki's husband Vasudeva was living, but Kunti Devi was a widow and there was none to help her except Krishna. The conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in greater dangers. Sometimes he puts his pure devotees in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more success is there for the devotee. Text 24. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Asvatthama. Purport. The list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Devaki was once put into difficulty by her envious brother. Otherwise, she was well. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into one difficulty after another for years and years together. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and party due to the kingdom, and each and every time the sons of Kunti were saved by the Lord. Once Bhima was administered poison in a cake form. Once they were put into the house made of shellac and set afire. And once Draupadi was dragged out, and attempts were made to insult her by stripping her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. The Lord saved Draupadi by supplying an immeasurable length of cloth, and Duryodhana's party failed to see her naked. Similarly, when they were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with the man-eater demon Hidimba, Rakshasa, but the Lord saved him. And so it was not finished there. After all these tribulations, there was the great battle of Kurukshetra, and Arjuna had to meet such great generals as Drona, Bhisma, Karna, etc., all powerful fighters. And at last, even when everything was done away with, there was the Brahmastra released by the son of Dronacharya within the womb of Uttara. So the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus, Maharaj Parikshit.